I'm Catherine Stewart, and I wrangle business at Automatic. And one of the things that's kept me busy over the last year and a half has been the acquisition and integration of Woo. And at the last WooConf in November 2014, I was a quiet observer in the back of the room. So it was a particular honor and a milestone to be here all these months later with all of you. So today we are talking about some success stories on WooCommerce. And we have 3 store owners and developers here who have built their businesses or charities on Woo. So first up, we have John, who has founded a company called Inkwells, which is a live printing company. And he founded this 5 years ago and has grown it to the point where it now has customers such as IBM and AT&T. He's also a self-taught developer and a serial entrepreneur. John, do you want to tell us a little more about yourself?
Sweet, yeah, sure. Do you want me to talk about myself or about Inkwells right now?
Both, thank you.
My name is John Sentai. I'm an avid traveler. I love to snowboard. I love to do work online. I've been working on WordPress, and yeah, I've been doing design, web design and different stuff for over 10 years. I started Inkwells about 5 years ago to offer on-demand printing at different events. We do live design and printing. We do a ton of different products like t-shirts, cell phone cases, canvas bags, backpacks, etc. We've been able to attain a pretty grand scale of clients. We work with Microsoft, AT&T, Toyota, as well as some smaller scale events like national sports events and different things like that. So we stay pretty active doing things like that. And what we essentially do is we actually allow people to design their own product using basically like microsites that we set up using the software and the plugins that are available by Woo. And basically we've been able to find success through, everything that's been made available here. So, I'm super thankful for the opportunity to come out here and speak and present this and, be a part of this whole community. Without it, I don't think that we'd be able to do half of the things that we've been able to do. Basically, it's a really small company. I do all of the web work and the design myself. I have a team of about 40 different people that come out to the different events with me. But yeah, without the Woo community, we wouldn't be able to do any of the stuff that we're able to do right now. So pretty cool. Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Jim Foreman, who has used Woo to allow teachers to fund grants that will buy classroom supplies for their students and has helped over 6,000 students by now. Jim, do you want to tell us a little more?
I'd be happy to. My name's Jim Foreman. I'm probably the least interesting and also the least physically fit person on this panel. John is, former professional snowboarder. Steven's the fastest Jew over 50 years old. Is that right? Yeah. So I spent a lot of time on the computer. As I'm sure many of you can relate. I quit my job in oil and gas back in 2011. My wife was thrilled. I've been freelancing ever since, and I actually started doing nonprofits pro bono just for a tax write-off, and suddenly that became my niche. And when this website came along, this project came along, they were doing a manual website on Dreamweaver, and they were trying to raise money for the teachers, and it was awful. And they don't pay nearly enough, as anybody who's worked with a nonprofit is familiar. But it's hugely rewarding. This past Monday was the first time I actually got to go to the campuses and hand out the big checks. It's like prize patrol, but with a bunch of munchkins. And it's really they sang a song to us, and it was just like, holy crap. I almost wanted to give the money back. I didn't, but I almost wanted to give it back. So that's really what we've been doing, and we're having a lot of fun with it. And so just wanted to come and talk about some of the more out-of-the-box uses for WooCommerce. You know, the community has been hugely supportive. This is really only the second e-commerce site we've ever done, and it's been going phenomenally well. We went from, when we started, they had raised $50,000 through selling grants. This year, we just sold twice that, about $100,000 worth of grants. And for a school district that has 6,000 students and 30 is in a city of 38,000 people, that's actually a really big number.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Stephen Sashin, who is our golden ticket winner. And he started a company called Zero Shoes, which are barefoot running sandals. He started this company from a spare bedroom about 6 years ago, and now it has grown to be processing up to 1,500 orders a day. Do you want to tell us a little more?
You're being generous. We started the business out of a corner of a bedroom, and literally my wife and I had a debate about whether we should buy a table to put stuff on the table rather than in the corner. So the thing started as a hobby. So I thank you, first of all. It's a real treat to be the Golden Ticket winner. For any of you who are in that competition, first of all, if you saw my video and you come up and meet me, you'll discover I am way shorter in person than on video. And they're not treating me special or anything like that. My room is just like yours, all you can eat sushi bar, free Thai massage, all the same. So I've been selling things online for 31 years, which is sort of crazy. It's really fun when I talk to developers and they're trying to tell me how the internet works, and I say, how old are you? And they go, I'm 27. I go, yeah, I've been doing this for 4 years longer than you've been alive, which is very entertaining. And we've been a Woo shop for the last 3.5 years. Our product is ultra lightweight sandals. You get all the fun and benefits of being barefoot, but with all the protection and comfort you need. We've got about 100,000 customers in 94 countries who wear our product for everything from taking a walk to running ultra marathons. We're for some people this is small, some people this is big. We're about a $3.5–4 million company this year, probably about 4 times that next year. And our goal is just to make things scale as much as possible. The weird situation we're in is that we were on Shark Tank 3 years ago, and so we see traffic spikes, the likes of which most of you will never encounter. When we first aired on Shark Tank, we had 200,000 concurrent sessions. Very interesting situation to be in, and we get reruns every couple of months where we get these massive spikes as well. So trying to handle that is an ongoing and interesting challenge.
Great, thank you. So my first question for our panelists is a very important one and a very basic one. Why Woo? So I know that some of you have tried other solutions in the past. It's been a bit of a journey. So I'd like to start with you, Stephen, if you care to share.
Well, all right. So again, since I've been doing this for 3 decades, I think for all the developers in the room, you'll agree we know one fact: all shopping carts suck differently. And the key is finding the thing that gives you what you need, the least suckage factor. For us, the reason for Woo is pretty straightforward, actually. We have some inventory requirements in terms of tracking individual products that we're selling that we sell individually as well as part of kits and bundles. And Woo was literally the only cart that would handle that. So we've had a lot of developers from Magento and Shopify say, oh yeah, we can totally do that. I go, great, show me. And then 2 weeks later, they stopped returning my phone calls. So it allowed me to get set up. Well, actually, let me back up. We started out with Equid, just a little third-party plugin. Wait, I got to really back up. So I got into barefoot running. I got into sprinting at 45 after a 30-year break. I was getting injured all the time. A friend of mine suggested I take off my shoes and run barefoot. I did. It cured all my injuries. I became, as Jim said, for men over 50, the fastest Jew in the world. And this guy said, hey, if you treated this little hobby you have of making sandals like a business, if you had a website, I'd put you in a book that I'm writing about barefoot running. So I go home and I pitch this idea to my wife, who tells me I'm a complete idiot, it won't make any money, it's a waste of time. I said, yeah, you're probably right. And she goes to bed around 9, and by 10 I had a website up. So it took me a little while to fill in some content, and I needed to get some e-commerce platform up, and the fastest thing, frankly, at the time was Equid. A little third-party plugin. Took me 20 minutes to get going. But once we realized this was an actual business, everything changed, and I spent hours and hours and hours looking at everything that I could find. Again, for the sake of transparency, we were an Interspire cart, which was the self-hosted version of BigCommerce, and once they realized there was more money in doing the SaaS version rather than self-hosted, they dumped Interspire, and we were in a jam. And in looking at everything, Woo was the perfect combination of handling what we needed, the flexibility that we needed, especially for SEO purposes, thanks to the WordPress component, and price. I mean, I talk to guys on a regular basis who go, hey, why don't we just roll your own and we can do everything that you need and it'll be much more controlled. And I say, what's that going to cost? And they go, well, it'll be like $250,000. And then I say, well, if you've done this 100 times, why isn't it just the cost of porting my theme and my data? And then they get mad at me and don't return my calls. So that's why I'm here.
And Jim, with a completely different kind of, I want to call it business, I know it's a charity. Can you tell us about how you decided on Woo?
Like I said, we've done literally 2 e-commerce sites. The first one was actually a Dogecoin marketplace that we built just for grins. Like Dogecoin was making it big. Bitcoin was like $600 a piece, and we saw an opportunity just to have fun with it. And we built that with Easy Digital Downloads, which was the only one we could find that had a cryptocurrency plugin. And that was interesting, to say the least. The Dogecoin community is very enthusiastic. And we had fun with that, but when it was time to put on the big boy pants and do something for a client, our first year we tried using EDD, and it just didn't really cut it. We tried to take this sort of Kickstarter approach to it. People can throw $20 at this grant, $20 at this. They didn't want to do that. They didn't like that at all. So obviously the big name was WooCommerce. So okay, well we'll spend a weekend, we'll throw this together, and we'll see what we can come up with. Took us a couple of hours, and then we just spent the rest of the weekend on Reddit, I think. So yeah, it's worked out very well ever since, obviously.
That's great. And I know a topic that's near and dear to all of our hearts is how to grow our audiences. And John, knowing that you have spent no more than $400, do I have this right, on marketing over the past 5 years, can you tell us a little bit more about how you've done that?
Well, it's basically through organic SEO, So I mean, connecting the power of the Woo and the WordPress content management. I mean, we've been able to deliver a unique, I guess, approach of our content. So another approach that I've taken is I actually have multiple websites. So I have a website called theblend.com, and I have a website called SnowRev. And what we've actually done there is we actually cross-link. So we've set up those sites to be independent content-based websites. And then when it came down to choosing our target market, which was essentially the live printing for inkwells, what I did was I actually created content pages based on different features of other companies that were out there doing it for highlighting like the top companies in live printing. And then I'd cross-link into inkwells that way. So I think that's definitely helped, but I think that it's kind of a unique approach with that, but just writing good content and delivering good, strong, unique content is definitely the way to go for that.
Yeah.
And it's definitely helped us build the business, so for sure. That's
great.
Yeah.
And Steve, I know that Shark Tank was a big moment for you and your company. How did you end up getting on the show, and how did you prepare for that spike in traffic that you mentioned?
So the way we got on the show was, there's 3 ways that you end up on the show. You can send in an email as an audition, you can go to a live audition, or they also do some outreach. They read Fast Company, they read various magazines and go to trade shows. We did the email version, and got a call a couple weeks later. I was actually about to get on an airplane and go to Chicago for one of the live auditions, and as I'm booking the ticket, we got a phone call saying, hey, we'd like to talk to you about being on the show. So they interviewed us, and then said, can you make a video just talking about who you are, what you're doing, and this is on a Thursday, we need it by Tuesday. And I said, yeah, not a problem. Not knowing that my wife had been planning a surprise 50th birthday party for me on Saturday. So she was freaking out and totally did not give it away. I was completely surprised. We shot a video on Sunday and sent it to them, and then we filled out a contract that's like about this thick, where you give away your entire life for years and years and years. If I tell you, actually, oh wow, the non-compete or the non-disclosure just expired, so I can tell you all the shit that I agreed not to tell you about. So just realized that. They no longer own my life. then there's a whole lot of hurry up and wait. So after they said they were interested in having us on the show, they said it's going to be like 8 weeks until we book it. And then 3 weeks later, they called and said, we need you out here in 3 days. Like, yikes. So we did a lot of prep. We watched every episode of the show, every episode of Dragon's Den from Canada and from the UK. We read the autobiographies of all the sharks. We had mock Shark Tank sessions with people that we knew who'd been on the show and with serial CEOs. We talked to VCs, bankers, footwear brand acquirers, as well as footwear brands that had been sold about valuation. And we just worked the problem really, really hard. And then we got out there. In terms of the prep, everything I say about well, here's the thing. So they tape, like, let's say 200 segments and only air about 150 of them or 160. So when you get in there, you don't know if what you do is going to end up on TV or not. So you need to prepare just in case and then cross your fingers. So we realized there was a window in late December where they weren't airing any new episodes, and we thought this is going to be our only chance for a vacation, assuming that we air. And we went and visited a friend in Ecuador, thanks to the magic of frequent flyer points, thanks to the magic of charging all of our shipping to a credit card. And while we're in Ecuador, we pretty much land, we have 2 days, and then we get a call saying, hey, we're going to be on the show in 2 weeks. Like, shit, there goes the vacation. So the prep, we had no idea. Some people sell a lot, some people sell nothing. We sold 3,000 pairs of shoes in the couple of days following the show, but the real prep was seeing what we could do for the traffic spike. And the simple thing is whatever we did didn't work. We got nailed. We were on well, I won't even mention the servers that we played with. Suffice it to say, we couldn't handle it. And when we were getting re-aired 6 months later in June, the biggest thing we did then was just prepared for the worst. So we just prepared for not being able to handle the traffic spike and had a static page where people could opt in. It's like, sorry, Shark Tank did too well, and we can't handle the traffic, and opt in here and we'll tell you when our site's live again. And we got about 7,000 opt-ins that evening, emailed everybody back the next day, and it worked out great. But that's been our biggest challenge, is figuring out both a hardware and software solution to handle these crazy numbers. And everyone says, oh yeah, we can definitely do it. And then when push comes to shove, it's like, and you just cost me 20,000 bucks.
Well, maybe at the end, if anyone in the audience has suggestions there, feel free to raise your hand. Jim, question for you around educating your end users. I've not only heard this from our panelists as being a challenge, but also from other Woo merchants. So I remember you're mentioning that one of the teachers, because in this case, those are your end users, was asking you a question and referred to a button as a clicky thing. So we'd love any tips or advice you have for the rest of us as to how to best educate these end users.
Yeah, I like to pretend I'm a developer, but really I feel like I'm more of a teacher myself. I'm teaching pre-K. Because yeah, not only do we deal with teachers who have been teachers for 30 years, and the internet is still just a passing trend to them, and then also a lot of the donors for the school district are much older. You don't see a whole lot of new parents cutting checks. You see a lot of grandparents or companies, and so yeah, educating them is probably the hardest part about that. And we still get calls all the time. Hey, this is not working. This is broken. Here's what it says. And like, I don't think you have internet. I think this is actually not an issue with them. But it's hard to tell them that politely and in a way that's still going to make them want to cut that check.
I had to convince someone that they had a backspace key on their keyboard.
Okay.
I swear to you.
Sometimes you just want to be the guy that are like, oh my God, I broke the internet, and you just want to respond. You're like, that was you? Sometimes like there's nothing there's so many problems with what you just said. I don't know how to respond.
But the good news is that people are very patient about things that you have no control over.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, of course, yeah. Oh, I've got all the time in the world. I'm only 95 years old. Yeah. Oh man. The teachers. At least the teachers are teachable. They're understanding. They're usually very easy to work with. They're willing to admit when they don't know something. The donors, it's pretty much the exact opposite. No, this is your fault. I want you to fix it. Like, okay, you're right. Okay, I'll take this one on the chin, and we'll just keep moving forward as long as they cut a check for at least $5,000. So. Yeah, educating is that constant struggle. There's just no easy answer to it, and sometimes you just got to swallow your pride.
So Yeah, and I know that you have some experience here too, because you've built a site for a charity. Do you want to tell us more about that site, and also if education has come up, teaching them how to use it?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm serving on the board of a group called the Little Angels of Honduras. And so what brought me into working with them initially was they were in need of a new website. So we built them a new website and essentially taught them how to use it, how to update it, how to manage everything that's there, how to manage their products, and essentially work with the whole thing all the way through. So, but yeah, I don't find it too difficult for them. They seem to grasp everything. Yeah, so they seem to grasp everything pretty well. There are some tricks as far as, when you're doing sites for other people and you're passing them the keys, essentially. There are plugins right now that are out there that you can simplify essentially the back end so that they can walk through in ways that actually make sense to them. Because when you pass somebody a WordPress site, filled with all the plugins and everything that essentially will make it a great site, it's very difficult for them to grasp, looking at it initially, what is happening here, because there's just so much there, so they don't really know exactly where to go. So I actually have, used, I can't remember the name of the plugin right now, but it essentially allows you to simplify everything and map out, the left column on the WordPress panel. So yeah, that's definitely helped.
Some people may be finding you later to see if you've recalled that name.
Oh, I'd love to help out anybody that needs a little assistance there for sure. I'll definitely share anything that you want to know with that. So
great. And while we're on the topic of education, I know that you're self-taught entirely. You've been using WordPress for a long time. So what tools have you found most helpful as you've gone about teaching yourself how to use WordPress and now WooCommerce and so on?
Let's see. Well, I mean, I use Photoshop a lot. I do a lot of Photoshop work. I do a lot of CSS editing. So these are like the things that stick out most to me as far as,
what helps you learn, though? What was the process when you sat down and said, I want to create a WooCommerce site, and then went and did that?
Trial and error, essentially, is the most crucial thing that's helped me to learn how to set up the sites and build other sites for other people and do things like that. I mean, it's just been a lot of time spent, doing it, breaking it, redoing it, breaking it again, and then, starting over and walking through the same steps that were successful up until the break, so I'm trying to think if there's any specific tools that have stood out other than the community support that's there through Woo. I mean, if you're going to use a plugin, and the developers are supporting it, a lot of people are really supportive of, offering, why you broke it, how hey, here's what happened, I broke it here, here's the error message, can you help me? And I've found a lot of support, through the developer community here that have helped me get through all of these breaking points, I guess. So
it's great to hear. Jim and Steven, do you have anything to add there?
No, I would just agree. The community's been very responsive. One of the things with the initial Shark Tank airing, I won't mention the specific plugin that was making way too many database calls and what really crashed us, but we diagnosed that, we sent the information, it was fixed. And the reason that I highlight that is that, again, one of the reasons that we're on Woo to begin with is the inventory management. Using Magento, for example, there's a plugin or an extension for Magento that's supposed to do the things that we need, and people have been bitching that it hasn't worked for 10 years. And they still haven't fixed this one really simple thing. So having a responsive community is very helpful, and I'm the same way. I mean, I'm always in the back end messing with stuff, and the secret there is Screencast or something where I can go, all right, here's exactly what I did, here's what happened, go take a look. And people, when you show them real data, they don't tend to triage you away and just say, turn off all your plugins and cross your fingers. They'll actually look at something and work on the code.
Great.
That sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah.
So let's just say it's your birthday and the community is willing to build you whatever extension or solve whatever gap that you need. What would that be?
Oh God. Okay. Going back to the education problem with teachers, our big challenge for the 2016-2017 school year is we want the teachers to upload their grants themselves. Up until this point, we've been using an online form, using Gravity Forms. It's very intricate. And then there's an approval process that it goes through to make sure that they're not requesting, I don't know, like condoms for kids or something really inappropriate. We want front-end submissions, and there are some extensions out there, and we're literally just now testing the water. But yeah, if somebody were to write something for me, that would be my birthday 10 times over.
That's a good one.
Anyone else have ideas?
Well, since it's my birthday, I'm going for 2 presents. The first one is a real CRM integration where the API is working both ways. Because for us, frankly, so there's 2 components to our business. There's the forward-facing side online, and there's the customer service and the management side on the back end. And frankly, we would love it if those guys never had to see anything with WordPress or anything with Woo. If they could just manage an entire 360 view of the customer from a real simple interface. And I've been asking for this / designing this for 30 years. I've literally promised my wife that I won't go into that business because it is a thankless, horrible job. But that would be wish number 1. And wish number 2 on the front end side is riffing off of Pep's talk, is that I'd like to be able to split test internal features and functions. I want to split test shipping options, split test pricing options, split test a whole bunch of things that the only way to do that is at the feature and function level, at the plugin level, rather than interface design and theme level things.
Yeah.
So a big challenge that we've been running into recently with the live design and production on site is we're covering multiple event locations. And we're actually, so a lot of what we do at Inkwells is we actually have our corporate clients that will pre-purchase everything, and then we just allow the people to design it, and then we produce it right on site. So in the growth of what we're trying to accomplish now is actually allow people to purchase while on site. So let's say we have 5 different event locations running at the same time. Instead of setting up 5 different microsites for each location, that'll manage the inventory that's on site at that location. I'd like to have just one that allows us to have different inventory for each location that we're presently at. So it'd be like serving different warehouses from the one storefront kind of thing. That would be very helpful.
Talk to me, because the warehouse plugin, which I spent a bunch of money to help accelerate the development on, might be able to take you most of the way there.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Oh.
Very cool.
Any other extensions that people feel have done wonders for their business and want to share?
We're running very light on it as far as extensions go. We're almost stock. And I know. Tell them how many you're running.
It's only 79.
79.
Only 79. That's because I turned a couple off this morning.
Oh, God.
And about half of those are Woo related, and the other half are WP related. And a lot of them, luckily, a good chunk of those are sort of back-end management things that don't affect performance. Some of them are not. But yeah, for the level of SEO things that we're doing and all the things that we're testing to just get people through the funnel as quickly and easily as possible, there's a lot in there.
But Jim, you have far fewer, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I think we're running like 6 plugins total, and only like 1 or 2 is WooCommerce related. I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan of keep it simple. So yeah, we're running mostly stock WooCommerce. Even the theme we're running is out there. It's the X theme, and it's got a WooCommerce integration built into it. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. I don't know how Steven doesn't wake up every morning with a broken website.
My fantasy
mind.
is that one day I will wake up and everything that was working yesterday is still working today.
Yeah.
The keyword is fantasy.
Yeah, living my nightmare.
Well, I do have more questions for you, but I also want to give the audience a chance to ask some questions as well. So now's a good time to open it up. Anything you'd like to ask?
Oh, come on.
Don't
Okay,
make
there's
us
a
ask you
question in the
ask.
back standing. So I'm not sure I caught all of the question, but I think it was around, do the panelists sell in other marketplaces? And if so, how is the traffic? Do you try to direct the traffic to one site or another? Is this correct? Or close enough? Okay, great.
We are selling in a number of other marketplaces, and that's actually a bit of a challenge. We're using the warehouse plugin to do some of the management of that, but that would actually be a really nice addition to have a good seamless integration with all the other marketplaces so that we can manage both the inventory and frankly just the reporting of sales. For anyone who sells on Amazon, you know that their reporting is crap. And to be able to have something that gives us some more information would be tremendously useful.
Great. Anyone else have something to add? Or?
We used to actually, we had a problem with the foundation does do a big fundraising event in the spring, and they continue to sell grants at the fundraising program. And so when we first did this, they wanted us to shut the website down so that they could sell the grants just through the fundraiser, and it was awful. It went horribly. Because we actually basically double sold a couple of grants, which is a problem when you want to put somebody's name on it.
Right.
So it was a real mess. So since then, we've done exclusively through the website. We go to the fundraiser, we bring a bunch of iPads, and people can just buy their grants, right there at their table, or they come. We have a room set up where we have a big display. But yeah, no, we tried the whole 2-location thing. It did not go well.
Thanks for sharing. I think we had another question up here on the left. Yeah, would you like to stand up?
As you guys are talking about scaling your websites from the early website to the websites that they are now, how is your team developed that works on web development for your WooCommerce site? Are you leaning still on the community for a lot of the support with the issues that you might have as you grow, or are you building more of a team in-house that works on your web development and business goals?
Yeah, great question. I'll repeat it just because I have a mic. Unfortunately, you don't. So the question is around, as you scale the business, how do you do that? Do you rely on the community, and to what extent do you just build your team in-house?
My team is literally 2 people, and when it comes to like best practices with WooCommerce, I rely pretty heavily on the community because I've gotten to where I am by making all the wrong decisions and then learning from them, and it's getting kind of tiring. I'm getting older. I'm not as old as Steven, but I'm just not as sharp as I used to be.
It's just a fact.
But my partner, Dan, he's an exceptional sysadmin. He's really remarkable, and so when it comes to handling massive amounts of traffic, which we have a big problem with because we run the school district's websites as well, at registration, all 38,000 parents want to go to the website all at the same time. So when it comes to our server end, what we're doing as far as hosting and how we're handling the traffic spikes, that we've developed in-house, and that's our secret sauce.
Let's see. We've been putting together a team, basically. I'm working with the guys from Commerce Gurus, shout out to Colin and Simon, and we just keep kind of bumping into whomever we need, and we've gotten good at identifying who the actual smart people are versus the people who think they're smart. So Colin and Simon, Commerce Gurus, they're just very smart guys. They're handling a lot of the design level, Woo level stuff, and then we actually just about to start working with SiteGround for hardware, and we're just building a bigger boat. So we're trying to put together a good team. My personal issue is I know enough to be dangerous, so I want to do more, but I don't have the time any longer, so I've got to build out a team that I can trust. And the fun part is actually the fact that I know enough is that we can get things done really fast and communicate. I can speak English to translator and do that, or translate English to programmer, and so that comes in awfully handy, and I need people who have enough e-commerce experience to know the direction that we're going and how to handle that. Whether they've done it before or not is a separate issue. I had someone approach me who had managed a $50 million e-commerce platform for a company that we're good friends with, and it became amazingly obvious that he was in over his head and didn't know it. So having the whole expert system has been very helpful for weeding out people that I don't want to spend time vetting.
Glad to hear it. I think we have time for one more question, and I see a very high hand,
Yo.
white shirt. Unfortunately, you both have white shirts. Okay, yes, thank you.
As store owners and kind of developers, you guys seem like you said, enough of the dangerous. How much have you decided to customize your website outside of what offer stock, you mentioned stock,
Yeah.
and then also the extension of the plugins? Do you get into the plugins and try to master or go outsource and try to find someone who knows how to mess with them? Or have you pretty much stayed with taking percentages or
Yeah.
just experience with that?
Oh, do you want to repeat the question?
Yeah, you can repeat the question.
Oh, it was how much of what we're doing is stock Woo versus custom code. So our theme's custom, and whenever I run into a plugin that does something close to what I want but not quite, I will just contact the programmer and throw money at them.
Yeah, I keep it lean because as a nonprofit, we're operated by a board of directors. That board of directors has 20 people on it, all of which know absolutely nothing, but they're basically all my boss. So yeah, we run very lean because if something breaks and we have to go sort through the code, which I feel fairly competent with, but it gets real messy because I get 20 phone calls. So no, we run very, very lean for good reason.
Mm-hmm. And for us, as far as integrating the live design software, we started with a plugin. The plugin kind of gave us the backbone for what we wanted to do, but didn't actually work exactly how we wanted it to. So we've customized that to, meet our needs, and we did that in-house. So, yeah, I guess.
Great. I realize there are more questions, but fortunately our panelists will be sticking around both today and tomorrow, so I'm sure you can find them. Just because we have 1 minute left, if anyone has any advice, any tips or tricks for the audience, now would be a great time to share.
Get a government job with a pension.
Marry somebody who works for the government and has a pension. My wife. No, actually, I asked that very question at South by, and the guy said he didn't even skip a beat. He just said, "Do good shit," and that's been my mantra ever since. Do good shit.
Yeah, do good shit. That's a good one.
Right?
It's a great line to end on.
It's catchy.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to break things, because once you break them, you can learn from your mistakes, and then you can actually make your sites better and your plugins and everything that you're working on. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we should clear the stage for Brent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.